The greatest thing from Quebec since Celine Dion and GSP.
A pair of siblings.
A couple of stellar young men.
Two brothers.
These two young men. Two siblings. The hard-hitting pair represent Canada.
Welcome to Thinkin Bros. My name is Chris.
And I'm Alex.
We're your favorite corner store philosophers trying to figure out life one conundrum at a time.
Yes.
I didn't stutter.
Oh,
I didn't stutter, which is amazing. The legs are out. There's something special about the episode, you know, because it's the last one of season 2. Honestly, I didn't think it'd be hard, but honestly, when I uploaded the penultimate episode, it was actually...
Were you nostalgical?
Yeah, I was Nostradamus, but yeah. No,
It doesn't make sense.
it was honestly hard. I didn't think I could do the emotion thing, but it feels like when you actually do something for a year and invest significant amount of time in it, discuss it, keep it in your brain, share it with people you like / love. Kind of you care about it. So that's one of the biggest conclusions.
Becoming human.
Now, I think what's coming in season 3 is going to be awesome. Well, I mean, you know, we could keep this for the end, but the end is just kind of like, I think here's the wrap up.
That's what I was thinking about. I think today's text, Plato's apology of Socrates, is there, but like we're mostly going to be talking about the podcast, no?
No, not necessarily.
I mean,
I also chose the apology as Socrates' death to dramatize the fact that season 2 is ending, obviously.
the death of season 2, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Imagine
And,
we did the apology already and we don't remember.
It really feels like it when I was reading it. But also I did a class on it, so analyzing it in depth made sense. But I also remembered something else because sure, okay, spoiler alert. Click off right now if you don't want to know what happened to Socrates. But he gets sentenced to death. But the next dialogue is Crito, which is after the sentence, but before his death. And he has a bunch of interesting conversations. And I thought those conversations were in the apology.
Okay.
And one of the biggest things he says, although he mentions it here, but he puts more emphasis on it there, is the opinion of non-experts doesn't matter. The experts of virtue, because I know I've done the right things and I've analyzed virtue like no one else, I know that the experts of virtue judged in favor of me, and only their opinion matters. And we're going to get to this, but obviously he says here as well, you can't hurt a good man even with death. In death or in life, you cannot hurt a good man, right? And that well, first of all, that stuck with me. But second of all, I just remember some vague conversation I had with one of the teachers I liked in late high school about one of these dialogues. And she fed me this quote, and ever since I've been obsessed with knowing, like, what does he mean? Like, imagine as a young person hearing, okay, majority vote doesn't matter. The only thing that actually matters is the opinion of experts. But then I have the same reaction as Socrates' interlocutors. It's like, yeah, but the majority makes the decision. They can enact the greatest of goods and the worst of evil, right? And Socrates essentially says, well, if you're naive enough to think that the majority, which is, supposedly on average dumb, can enact the biggest of goods, well, you're far too naive, because in fact, what they do is absolutely random. When you haven't analyzed something, your behavior is random. So as long as he's aligned with the experts in X thing, he feels safe that he's done the virtuous thing, and whether they take his life doesn't really affect him at all. And again, that it feels like a higher state of not being worried about, I guess, if you want to put it in religious terms, it's like he's not a man of the flesh, right? Like, he's not worried about, okay, what are they going to do? Like, starve him to death, exile him, all of these I don't know, oh, rob him of his riches, all these things. Like, no, for him, it's like, okay, well, I know what the right path is because, hey, I've been doing this for 70 years. As long as I'm walking it, none of you projections of my consciousness can affect me, right? No, but like,
Well,
you
he
get it,
doesn't
right?
go there, but yeah.
He does not say that, yeah.
Yeah. It made me think of, I think some people seriously like carry the claim that Socrates is sarcastic and he doesn't believe what he says. I think it's just not, that position is not tenable, having read the Apology and him literally being ready to die for his bullcrap, you know, in quotes. It's like he's he plays the ignorant man and people are like, yeah, whatever, you think you're the smartest. And yeah, well, he thinks he's the smartest because he doesn't know anything. But he thinks, people think like Socrates is playing with people and like teasing them or whatever. But it really does seem like he just believes what he's saying all the time and he goes to the death with it.
Yeah, but I also think he's very smart and smart enough to know exactly what it does to others, and to, you know, he could have this truth. For example, I don't know nothing. I don't know anything, but and be absolutely purely honest if he weren't aware of people's reaction to it. But because he talks so much to others, and he knows that it infuriates them, and it also sounds pompous, and it sounds condescending, I think he breaks through that barrier and says it still. And sure, it might be because, well, purely because he believes it, but I think it additionally amuses him. And I think that's where maybe a lot of the hate is coming from, is because, look, you might believe this, but you know what this does to people, and you keep carrying on with it, right? Which, you know, it wouldn't be a reason to stop if that point were indeed internalized by him. But you get what I'm saying? Like, there's this additional claim of like, oh, yes, this is an essential truth that I found, but it also hurts people. But I'm willing to sacrifice that every time. Well, hurt, and by hurts, I don't mean, like, I just mean emotionally. Of course, he thinks he's making them better people.
I'm not sure when you say it amuses him. I just think he, as he says in this text, he's trying to do the virtuous thing.
Right, and essentially follow God's plan for him. Well, yeah.
He fully believes that God's plan for him is to unsettle people.
Yeah, because this is mostly a monologue, it does feel like a lot of the humor is gone, and he just kind of opens his heart as like, I've said like too many times already, I'm going to try to limit myself. But he goes on the backstory of why he does this. And you don't get that often. You often get, oh, you want to know about virtue because you seem to think you know so much about it. Let me ask these questions. Okay, let me contradict you. Okay, let me offer a new avenue of thinking. Okay, let's end the dialogue there, because actually giving answers is an anti-Socratic blasphemy.
He is very pompous in this one, though. Like he does believe he's the wisest. Or I guess he trusts the gods.
Yeah, that's all he does. So back to season 3, I think the reason I'm taking a break is, yes, sure, we've been catching up, but like well, there is another one. We've been catching up so many times throughout this year, and you know, we've done it. Even when we were on vacation, we recorded it 2 days before or a day before, right? And we still got it out on time. But the other thing is, I really want to invest this time into something very specific. And I think that specific thing, which concerns marketing, is gonna do with this podcast what I hoped it would do from the very beginning, but didn't happen naturally and didn't happen with my natural marketing skills, which was to set up a sort of funnel to get this whole thing out and, you know, eventually create a community. If after a year it hasn't happened, although the podcast itself has reached a certain level, the outreach hasn't. all of that will be fixed and will have the capacity of making it what I want from it happen once I go through the steps, right?
Yeah.
Now, for you, you'll go deeper into psychology research, and even if it's 6 months, we'll already be richer. You'll already know about more books that we could read, sources that we can consult. You'd have more on the list. You'd already have read more books, and it's like you're going to be advancing the podcast, and I'm going to be advancing, who can watch the podcast.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
And these two different angles, it's exactly what we need, right?
And in terms of what you bring to the content of the podcast itself, you won't run out of opinions to have. So I think we're good.
Yeah, that's just me. So yeah, and so there's a yin and a yang, right? I'll do the marketing thing, but I'll also be the opinionated philosophy guy. You'll do the content thing, for example, but you also have the marketing side where you're the pretty face on the left side of the screen, right? So yeah, a little bit of yin and yang. So I think the break can only do us good here. Of course, that is a little bit of an excuse in the sense that I would like to get back here, in a week and have a discussion, but and it's literally still a possibility. It's literally still a possibility.
Yeah, but you're thinking way too black and white. Like we've been doing this for once a week, every week, and if we stop, like it's a thing. It's not a thing. Like we can start whenever we want.
It's how my brain works.
Yeah,
and it's everything though. It's everything. That's another thing. Like if we're talking about me, since we're talking about me now, it's crazy. If I were to go on a diet for 6 months, or for now, like I haven't eaten processed sugar in I don't know how long, a year and a half. And right now I'm doing 2.5, 3 hours of sports every day. Okay, 2 hours to 2 hours and a half, right? I think even if I had a whole cake, it would probably do nothing in the long run. But there's this barrier that even if someone proposes a Tic Tac to me, I'll just say no because the barrier will be crossed. And because I want to say I haven't eaten processed sugar in a year and a half. Yeah. Now, I am proud and I am like emotionally attached to the fact that we did do this for a year. Seeing that episode 52 is cool. Yeah.
It's so ugly on Spotify. It says 53 episodes because there's
intro.
Because there's the intro.
Yeah, you're right. It's fine, whatever. It's not even like a round number. If it were 100 and we ended on 101, then it'd be something. In any case, it's fine because it's for the betterment of the podcast and probably both of our lives. At least mine, because the decision mostly comes from me. I'm sure you could have hung on if we just continued. In any case, I'm ready to talk about the thing. You are? Are you? Okay, great. So yeah, we have our plan set forth. 6-month plan. I become a genius. 116 IQ marketer. Let's not overestimate it here. We've learned a lot about throughout this year. I'm sure if you go listen to episode 1, I was a lot.
I think you're higher than 116.
I think I am.
Yeah.
I just wanted to keep it very. But anyway, also, I feel like we've evolved as people. Anyway, as one does through a year of life, I think. But
sure, but also this specifically, I think as stressed as you are about our likes and our it's a lot better. And
you're not the editor, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure, you might. Yeah, you might notice, but
I might notice what? If we
might notice yourself saying them if I bring enough attention to it. But
yeah,
it's pretty bad in the raw recording.
Mm-hmm.
In any case, I think that's all deliberate practice. I think it's all pointing out every time I say it. Like if we're talking about the drilling part of how to get rid of the I have to be out here saying it every single time.
Yeah. But also, apart from the practice thing, getting better at it, just the habit of sitting down here and recording in front of a camera. Do you remember how, like, what it was in the beginning? I mean, at the beginning, there was not even a camera. We were just speaking, and we could not speak for
True. The breaks were longer. That is one thing. I was cutting a minute breaks.
Yeah.
Or 20-second breaks every.
Some subjects weren't conducive to discussion as much as we have now, but not really.
But it's also 100% of the content was coming from my head. You have to realize that as well.
Yeah, but we were just taking such long breaks. Yeah, but also just being stressed about recording.
I guess it
like
does
the physiological responses. I don't have a physiological response to recording anymore.
It does feel like we're back to just having a conversation like we wanted it to be at the beginning.
Right. If we stutter or if you make mistakes, it would be the same mistakes we make when we
talking
talk,
to friends
instead 100%. Of like with
yeah, it's not a camera stutter.
Yeah, exactly.
Camera. There you go. So okay, the apology by Plato. I'm not even sure, to the people who don't know the dialogue, I'm not even sure that was clear throughout this 15 minutes of talking.
At the beginning, I said Plato's apology of Socrates, but I mean that's probably not what it's called.
Thanks for saying that. It's just called the apology, and it's said in the beginning that the actual word apology here in this context does not mean that he's apologizing for anything, which he's not.
And they say like, which becomes clear when you read the text.
Yeah. And it just means a legal defense. Now, he is charged for a bunch of things. He then goes on to divide his accusers to the earlier accusers, kind of the people hidden in the shadow that have manipulated his image throughout the years, and the new accusers, which are actually the people filing his legal documents. Now, those are weak, according to him, but the hate harbored towards him by a lot of these people, which was based on the influence of the early accusers, that's a lot stronger.
Runs deep, yeah.
And the things that are named against him are impiety against the gods of the city, corrupting the youth, and something else. Now,
turning worse arguments to the better.
Yeah, and also being concerned with things above the earth, under the earth and above the sky. Something like that.
Yeah.
And that never becomes clear. And I've taken the class on it, and the prof has told me what it means, and I don't know what it means.
Is it like science, which is not like
it actually
godly?
It might. That's what I was feeling. That maybe like something metaphysical or something that doesn't.
I was thinking not metaphysical. I was thinking physical, like studying the properties of materials and everything, instead of being like, "Oh, God made it."
God did, but I don't know if there's any reference to.
Yeah. There's no reference to any science at all. I don't know what that means.
But I guess he's concerned with another level of intellectual inquiry than the Athenians on some level. He's It's like Harry Potter's restricted book section. He's out there, and they don't want him to know something probably, or something like that. Now, one of the things that isn't said, and perhaps if we hadn't read the preface, wouldn't be clear, is that Socrates is also hated by a lot of these Athenians, even if they don't know him for his speeches, which they probably do, because of his association with some of the leaders of the opposition in Athens' loss against in the Peloponnesian War.
That was good.
That was pretty good. And that's the hidden, not frame,
subtext.
But subtext of the trial. And for some reason, it's funny how old politics are, but for some reason, he couldn't be charged for political associations about the war at that time, because there was some blockage for that, some legal blockage.
Isn't there
for charging?
Isn't that two separate things? When Athens wasn't a democracy for a bit because the 13 were leading or whatever, or the 30, he opposed the government in a trial about something, and he was the only one opposing, and eventually everyone agreed with him. And he was ordered at some point to go get like a traitor or get someone to bring him back and kill him, and he didn't go. And he would have been sentenced had the government not been overthrown. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, you're saying it
in a very confident manner. I just read it recently.
I remember. Oh, okay, yeah. I remember something of the sort. I don't know, but I know in the intro of this text,
Yeah.
it said that for some reason, either in this trial, the political associations couldn't be named, or after the war, something happened that political associations couldn't be accused of in court or something like that.
Okay.
I just think he had contributors, the people who paid for his lifestyle, in the opposition, in the sense that he charmed them with his words. I think that's what it is, but
Okay.
Anyway. So, he starts off, now, this is the biggest irony, though, of the text. He starts off by saying that his accusers are the ones who are extremely persuasive, and he's the one who's out, he's going to be telling the truth. Now, he repeats the word truth a lot of times. And it reminded me of palm marketing, okay? Bear with me. Do you remember? I just wanted to point out how strong and persuasive good marketing is, and enveloping a message, or what I call narrative spinning. And we'll come back to that. But do you remember how, when we got that one bottle of pomegranate juice with the palm marketing, and it just feels like you're drinking blood and replenishing your blood supply? No. But
What do you mean palm marketing? The bottle?
I just do. Yeah, well, there's the bottle.
The bottle.
But did you not feel all the vitamins and minerals rushing to replenish your blood supplies? Did you not?
That's just their product. That's what pomegranate juice tastes like.
Yeah. But I'm not saying about the taste. I'm just saying how healthy the product feels based on how
The
they've
bottle.
marketed it. There's not just the bottle, though.
I haven't seen ads or videos or anything.
Really, I think I had subconsciously seen them. And when I saw the bottle, I think someone gifted it to us like 7 years ago.
But for me, the bottle is enough. Have you seen the shape of the bottle?
Exactly.
I'm replenishing my
Blood
resources.
supply, exactly.
Yeah, dude.
And
It looks like a potion.
yeah, and one of them, one of their ads is actually that bottle is an IV bag. And it's like life support. I think the big words are life support. So they market it as such. And it helps because it looks like blood. But actually, pomegranate juice isn't magical, and
What?
no, but really, it's just okay in terms of vitamins and everything. But they've marketed so, and it's the same thing about, I think I told you from my chemistry class. Milk isn't actually an outstanding source of calcium.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the milk industry has marketed as such, and it works, because now if I say calcium, I feel like a glass of milk appears in your head. Broccoli's
when
pretty good.
I like, if I'm reminded of the fact that milk has calcium, when I drink a cup of milk, I feel like it goes straight into my bones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can. That's the thing. They build these mental
Like
representations.
there's pores in my bones, and it pours into the
That's
pores
exactly
of my
how
bones.
I see it. No joke. And
Yeah,
that's,
yeah, me too,
that's
me too.
incredible. Yeah. Don't know how they do it. That's why they pay them the big bucks. But that's where I'm going. So from the outset. Now, there's a very interesting thing. Did you not feel? And I took very detailed notes on this.
Why did you just say that though?
Because it's the difference between being persuasive and being truthful. And I just wanted to kind of just re-highlight the power of persuasion.
I see.
You can manipulate mental representations in people's heads, or they feel like, if you make them forget their short-term memory and whatnot, you can make them feel like they know there's calcium in milk, but it could have all been a psyop. Psychological operation, for those who don't know. Now, there is this... did you want to say something? There's this list of things that I noticed about Socrates being a good orator and argumenter. And I feel like if modern, I don't know, debate club leaders or whatever nerds do that thing, made a list of everything you must do to convince an audience, Socrates checks every box. Okay, and
Okay.
I took a bullet point, and it's really cool, and you're gonna recognize a bunch of these techniques, and it's really cool because you know that there wasn't a standardized method to win people over, but you know that either the historical Socrates or Plato were skilled enough at simply talking to people, getting their reactions, understanding if they were persuasive or not, reconstructing the way they were talking into molding it to the perfect argument.
Mhm.
Okay? Now, tell them, okay, first of all, there's the structure of his speech. And I heard this from someone, and I already told you this, and you had an unfavorable reaction because it sounds cheesy, but it's really true. It's the way you make people internalize things. And it's tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them.
Mhm.
Now, in the beginning, he says, okay, my accusers are persuasive people, and they may have charmed you, but I'm here to tell you the truth. First of all, I'm going to defend myself against my early accusers. Then I'm going to defend myself against the new accusers. And here's how this is going to proceed, right? So he structures his speech at the beginning, and then after that, he goes back to, summarize it as well. So he does that all perfectly. So there's a structure. Then there's complimenting adversaries. So he says Anytus is formidable. He's a formidable opponent, and his speeches and blah, blah, blah. Then boosts ego of the audience. He says, the good judge seeks out the truth, and I speak the truth. So it's like, if you're on my side,
You're the good guy.
you're the good judge, and that's what you want to be, right?
Mhm.
So yeah. In taking his side, there's an ego boost. Narrative spinning. So when he's defending himself against... Now, I'm going to go through these quickly, but we can stop at anyone if you like. And I'm probably going to go back with more detailed notes. When he's defending himself against his old accusers, he says, they got a hold of you from birth. It's like these... the expression we now use, like faceless bureaucrats. Socrates doesn't necessarily name any names against his early accusers, but he's saying, look, these Athenians have hated me for a long time. You Athenians are young, but they've been at it since birth, telling you the name of Socrates. Aristophanes wrote the play Clouds, and he's infected your minds with this character of... and it's cool. He creates a narrative of, okay, there are people in the power structure of Athens just modifying your mental representation of me. I'm going to be so annoying with this mental representation thing, but it's how I see it now. Mental representations of mental representations. We've said this. You've said this.
Person are tuning off as we speak.
Yeah, just person per person. So,
No, I
I
fan.
get it. Perspective taking. So, why did I write, if not a sophist, what did you do? Essentially, I found that he took on the... Oh, okay. Because this was mainly a monologue, he often took on the perspective of the audience and asked logical questions about... that the audience would ask if they could speak during that speech.
Yeah.
And then he said, when defending himself against his early accusers, I believe, that he was a person who was charging for teaching virtue. He said, look, the sophists do that. I'm not a sophist. Now you might... sophist, for sure. Now you might ask, what did I do to survive and make money? Well, and then he answers. So that's perspective taking. Then call to authority. When he recounts the oracle at Delphi, right? He tells the story of how it was revealed to him that he's the smartest man in Athens, and he went on a quest to prove the oracle wrong, but then discovered that it wasn't. And he's just saying, hey, look, the same God that you guys believe in, he told me and put me on this journey. So then there's the rule of three, when he explains the thing with politician, poet, and craftsman. I forgot, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, that's all the people he pissed off.
Exactly. During his investigation of is he the smartest man in Athens, he went to these people. Wisest, yeah. He went to these people and wanted to discover if they knew more than him. Politicians, obviously not. They were speaking a bunch of things about virtues and the ways of the city. But then when he asked them about what justice is, for example, well, we can see from other dialogues that they absolutely don't know, like the Republic. Then poets. Now, with poets, it was interesting. I feel like I'm skipping through these rapidly because these are interesting points.
I thought this was not going through the story. I mean, I thought you were going to go through like the structure, blah, 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 the things he did. And then we were actually going to go through it like a story.
Okay, good. But do you know what the rule of three is? Just if you are to enforce a point, you can go through 3 examples of how this is exemplified.
The poets, he said, surely people's interpretations of what the poets write are not as good as the poet's interpretation is, because they're the ones that wrote it. And he found out that the poets often have worse interpretations than the public does of their own poems.
Exactly. You make them...
and so he says the poets are just gifted from birth, and that's it. They know nothing. They're not wise.
Exactly. With the craftsman, it gets more interesting, but we'll get to that. Then he leads the adversary into contradiction. One of the charges against him is impiety. Now, I'm not sure, but apparently it's agreed upon that he believes in the doings of the spirits. And then he says, well, do I believe in the doings of the spirits? Yes.
No, well, there's even steps before that.
Yeah, but... And
do people who believe in horse training believe in horses? Something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then he says, okay, if I believe in the doings of spirits, is there any possible person on earth that could say I don't also believe in spirits? It's like, well, the horse thing does make sense, so let's do the spirits thing. So, okay, I believe in spirits. Now, do we not believe... And this is where... It's interesting because to me it feels like a question where he puts himself at a parallel with Athenians. And it's what I was maybe saying last time. Yes, I was. That because he knows what they believe so well, he allows himself to speak on their behalf. But there's still this distinction. And he says, do we not believe that the spirits are sons of gods or gods themselves? And it feels like someone who's studied the books of Athenians and has come through and found a contradiction in what they have. Did it not feel like that for you?
It didn't feel like that. I think the catch in that, it felt like the catch in that moment was the first question, him saying, do I not believe in spiritual things? For me, it felt like spirits and gods are spirits is like someone in Christianity saying, is Jesus not the Son of God? Like something that's obvious.
Yeah. So whatever. If you didn't feel it, I feel like it's pointless for me to explain what I mean. But of course, then he says, okay, so you agreed at the beginning that I believe in the deeds of spirits, therefore I must believe in gods. So you can see the logical path there. So again, in the very accusation, he found a contradiction. Textbook. What else? Oh, there's another contradiction where he says, do you think I intentionally make people wicked? That's an interesting...
I didn't like that, man.
So then he said, I'm not sure about the order, but he says, do you think I intentionally make people wicked? He says, probably yes, right? Then he says, but do wicked people not hurt the people that surround them? Then he says, yes. Well, Anytus or whoever he's questioning.
Miletus
or Anytus. And then he says, okay, so if I'm intentionally making people
worse off,
well, no, wicked, and people who are wicked make people around them worse off, this was a question asked before, but do you think I would intentionally make myself worse off? Well, the answer is no rational person would intentionally harm themselves. So the conclusion is essentially no one can make people around them intentionally wicked because they would be hurting themselves.
Yeah.
Which then, again, just in isolation is an interesting point. Like villains getting allies and knowing that showing them that way of life will eventually lead their associates to backstab them. Or something like that, right?
So they must do it unwittingly. They must not realize they're
Exactly, which is also
they're wicked.
Yeah, which is also partially what I think. I've questioned this myself for a long time. What I think the nature of an evil person is, right? I think there's the big question of, do they know they're doing the wrong thing, or in their mind are they the hero? And this kind of weighs the argument to the side of they think they're doing the right thing. Otherwise, indeed, yeah. Takes away potential win. Oh, yeah, that's another interesting one. He takes away a potential win from Anytus and Miletus by saying that his undoing will be the result of his unpopularity gained from his quest of finding someone smarter than him, and not their accusations. At some point, he just says, look, my early accusers are the people who I've displeased with throughout my quest of questioning people and making them realize they're wrong about a bunch of things. I've pissed them off. They're not here today necessarily. And you, Anytus and Miletus, won't have anything in my undoing. So, again, this is maybe a kamikaze strategy. Not that it's a strategy at all, but these two won't get the satisfaction of saying, even if they win, right? They won't get the satisfaction of being like, yes, I got him. It wasn't you. So that's just an interesting side point. Right. Then he doesn't back off. Oh, yes, that's my favorite part. He was considering different...
So we are going through it.
I guess we are. No, because the entire text is in these points of... But it's also a nice summary, I guess. He goes through the alternatives of the verdicts that could happen. And he says that one of them could be, okay, just stop doing philosophy. Just stop talking about it and you'll be safe. You can live.
Not that he's actually considering it, but he talks about it.
No, he's not considering it, but he's saying it might be one of the
punishments one of the things you can make me do because I was convicted.
Yeah. But then he says, okay, if you're doing that, might as well kill me because I'll never stop doing it because I think it's my mission from God.
God-given duty.
And this is exactly...
At this point, they've voted and they have convicted him. He's guilty of the crimes he was accused of.
Yeah, now it's about the sentence. And he's saying, well, look, if you're going to take away philosophy from me, might as well just whatever.
And the way the court works there is that now he's officially guilty of the crime. And they've decided a sentence, which is the death sentence for him. And it's his job now to offer a counter sentence that could be accepted by them.
Let's see if I can explain it. This is what I used to do in Among Us when I used to be imposter again. And this worked out great for me. I think I did it twice. Okay. So for those who don't know, Among Us...
Did you die both times?
No. Among Us is this game where little humanoids are on a spaceship and there are essentially 8 crewmates and 2 imposters. The imposters go around killing people and try to hide it from other crewmates.
Pretending they are crewmates themselves.
Yeah, and the goal of the crewmates is to complete all the tasks before the imposters
kill everyone or
kill enough people
vote out
for
the imposters.
Yeah, exactly. And there are vote rounds where the crewmates can talk with the imposters, of course, not knowing who they are, and vote people out, and that's the way they win also. Now, what I used to do when a lot of suspicion was on me, and the game was kind of tight, I used to, during discussion rounds, I used to say, okay, I can see that you guys are going to vote for me, but I want to prepare you mentally for what's going to happen next round. You're going to discover that you didn't vote out an imposter. And you're going to need a plan for that because there aren't going to be many people left, right? You guys are going to be 3 against the 2 imposters that remain. I want you to set up a plan right now for what you're going to do next round when you discover you haven't killed the right person. So I was doubling down, giving them the, accepting like, okay, you know what? If you're going to kill me, but here's what's going to happen to you. And this is exactly what Socrates did.
Mm-hmm. And then he died.
But also probably won in some senses.
I mean, he won by following his God-given duty.
He died happy, that's for sure. Historically, did he also win? Yeah, because we're out here discussing how great his speech was, instead of saying, yeah, Athenians, get him. Meletus claims, I talk about things in the sky and below the earth, make the worse. Okay, so these are the new accusations. Okay, anyway, I think that's pretty much... No, but it's pretty much the summary of what I had. I know there's a lot of stuff. So, for example, his opponents were also doing narrative spinning with the Aristophanes clouds. And this is a great thing, right? The influence of artists on society. So how... For example, if you've been around Athens, you've met a couple people that don't like Socrates, and you're not sure who he is, and then you go to this play that everyone starts talking about it because it's so great, and Socrates is depicted as a vile man, right, or whatever.
Yeah, but at the point we were at, where he was supposed to offer a counter offer to his death sentence, basically, he goes through those options and he says, well, I could be exiled, I could be forced not to talk about philosophy. I'm obviously just not going to do that. If you tell me you get to live right now, Socrates, if you stop philosophizing and putting everything into question, the next day he's going to go out and question everything. And so he says, my job right now is to give you a fair counter offer. What I think I deserve for, having done what I did. And he says, I think a fair counter offer is for you to give me free food, free meals every day. I think that's what I deserve for what I did. And so I think that's what convinced me of like him being convinced about his point of view, and him being ready to die for it. Because it seemed like the vote was close. He had some people on his side. He could have proposed to them a punishment, but something less than death, to not die. And he went completely the opposite way. It was basically pushing people to kill him, to say, no, I deserve, give me free food.
Yeah. Okay, that was a very taunting part. And I didn't even feel like it in the moment because he came to it so logically.
He was just very...
He brushed over it.
Yeah.
I think it was just, well, I've improved your life, essentially, so just pay me back in satisfying my primary needs, in a way, I think.
Yeah, because he doesn't seem to be taking care of that himself. Like, he doesn't really care about anything.
Also, year something BC, right? He was 70. Good job.
Huh?
Good job.
Good job. Yeah, for sure.
And he said this as well. Here's a really good quote, too. Wickedness runs faster than death. At me being slow at my old age, death has caught up, and you, Meletus or Anytus, being fast at your young age, wickedness has caught up to you. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember that at all, no. But what I do remember is at the end, he's saying, treat his dying wish, I guess, in front of everyone, because I guess he speaks later.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Is treat my sons when they grow up the same way I've treated you. And so question them if they think that they're somebody when they're nobody. Question them if they hold on to material things. Question them and put everything into question for them. My question is, why does he suddenly care about his family?
Exactly, yeah. The historical Socrates abandoned his family to walk around Athens and be broke to pursue philosophy, so he doesn't care. I feel like this is
dramatization?
I'm not sure what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what it is, but it's definitely the only place he mentions his sons. But he also gives a reason for that. He says,
Oh yeah.
what you wanted me to do is appeal to my family and how everyone will miss me and get your pity, but I'm not going to do that at any point. That's maybe the most unapologetic part of the,
because that would be a
dialogue.
wicked thing to do. It would be sophist talk, just sounding good, looking good, appealing to emotions. Whereas he just wants to convince you that he's speaking the truth.
Yes. Now, at a certain point, he gets to the following part. So many good parts in this last part of my my notes. It's incredible. Miletus says that everyone in the court improves the youth except Socrates. He somehow gets to that point, right?
Well, yeah, because it's Athens. Everyone is like higher class and educated. Yeah. Everything is...
Yeah. So Socrates questions him. He's like, okay, well, you seem to hate me a lot. Are you saying... So who exactly does improve? So if you're saying I don't improve the youth, who does? He says, yeah, everyone. He says, oh, okay, so everyone in the court, everyone in the street of Athens, everyone? Yes, everyone. Socrates says that in the case of a horse, only one man can make the horse better, and the others corrupt the horse, right? The horse expert makes him better. And it would be a happy state of affairs indeed if the opposite were true of enriching the youth or corrupting the youth. And then it just instantly sinks in, right? It's the classic Socrates thing where you're like, yeah, man, if everyone just naturally made the youth better, it would be a beautiful world. But I guess it's only the expert virtue seeker that can do that. And not that we needed convincing, but yeah, he definitely nails it. The following point is really interesting. Now, I am skipping around, but except for the beauty of the structure itself of the speech, I think it's okay to go point by point. Probably. And not in any particular order. But when he gets to the subject of death, the reason he gives to not fear death is really interesting. Do you want to say it?
I seem to remember like different things, but at the very end, he says that there are two options in death. Either one, it's just an eternal rest, where there's nothing and nothing enters the sense organs or whatever. Or the second option is what they say is true, and he joins other great people in the afterlife and gets to talk to them, and gets to talk to them about their experience of being convicted unjustly, and talks to them about their experiences and questions them.
But did you not notice that when he says, when he talks about the point of the afterlife, he says he doesn't consider whatever heaven is. He says, or I'd go to Hades. He's saying either it's the senselessness or I'd go to Hades. And then the people he names to be there are poets, are all poets and artists. So
I see.
There's this like additional point about, all poets go to hell. I think he just hates poets.
Why would he go to Hades then?
I don't know. I think it adds to the, I don't know. It adds to the, I know what's going to happen here today, but I'm going to take a swing at poets one last time or something like that. I'm not sure. But I just remember that from class. She brought it up that every name he names, because he does talk about, like, he name drops a lot when he says who he'd meet in the afterlife. But essentially the point is, he says to fear death is to think oneself wise when one is not. Because absolutely no one knows what's on the other side of it, but people always act and assume the worst. They act as if it was the worst thing that could happen. But when you don't know, you must treat it neutrally. And the way he conceptualizes the senselessness, he says, imagine a night where you didn't have any dreams, and just make that infinite. So it would just be one long night of sleep, uninterrupted sleep. And he also says, do you want? I don't know if we're going to the same thing.
No.
He says, now if you were to add up all the days that you've felt and all the nights that you've lived, would one long sleep, dreamless, uninterrupted night of sleep not be better than the average of what you've lived in your life? And his point is essentially,
is it not compared to other nights of sleep?
No, I think he says the entirety of experience in life.
Okay.
Do you not think that this just
don't.
nothingness? Well, okay, but we're talking about. It's interesting that Socrates would say such a thing, because essentially what I interpreted it as saying is, nothingness is essentially better than the average of what life is. But then I thought about it. Sorry, but then I thought about it, and I think he's not saying nothingness as in zero. He's equating it to a good night of sleep, which is above zero in some sense.
I see.
You know?
I maybe I read it wrong, or maybe you read it wrong. I thought it was compared to your other night's sleep is the best night's sleep, not the one that you don't remember anything from your sleep, because you just go to sleep and it's perfect. And that makes sense to me, right? Because if there's nights you remember, it's because like you woke up in the middle or something disturbed you or something. And the best
nights you
night's
remember with people you couldn't forget. But I think the point is he's comparing how people perceive death during life, and simply adding up the nights, the average night compared to a good night, isn't the point. The point is the entirety of your conscious existence versus that night of sleep. That's the logical comparison, I'm pretty sure. See what I'm saying?
Maybe, but that doesn't make sense to me. I mean,
do you want to try to find it?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. There is no confirmation that death is not the greatest experience known to man, yet people fear it like it is the worst thing imaginable. So this
yeah,
is really...
also, I disagree with that. You shouldn't treat something you don't know as neutral. In the human experience, you should treat something you don't know as dangerous, because that's more safe. If you completely don't know. Like, you don't know the ocean. You just go into the ocean bathing happily, merrily, until you get eaten by a shark.
I see. Like, if someone gives you a squaddle as a fruit to eat, and it looks like nothing you've ever seen before. No, but then again, what is treating it neutrally? I'm not sure. But I think there is some sort of epistemological shift there that isn't the same as within life, we have this survival instinct that maybe weighs on the side of, okay, let's treat everything more safely than neutrally. But death itself, I feel like there's an epistemological shift there. You see what I'm saying?
Maybe, but at the same time...
From your human perspective, sure, death can be interpreted just as, I came up to you behind your back with a stick. You haven't seen it. Do you want me to poke you with it? But you don't know anything about the stick. You probably say no, but you're operating within the land of the living. Okay, I'm derailing. And I understand your point. I didn't see it from that perspective. But when Socrates said it, it also made sense to me. So I think there's something there, certainly. I think that maybe for the people who are cripplingly afraid of death, for some of them, this could maybe click, right? This could ring that bell and be like, okay, this has clicked with me. Because if I am honest with myself, I don't know anything. So why would I fear something I absolutely don't know? But also fear comes from the anticipation of what you don't know. But that's within the human experience. Death is kind of outside of it, if you want to talk like in those terms, right?
But yeah, you are right. It says, well, it's not adding up all the days and nights. It's putting the pleasant night's sleep next to comparing
which essentially
one to
means
one.
averaging out your conscious existence.
Just literally put that night's sleep against the best of your days. It's a 1-1 comparison, but with everything.
But the point is
the point is that night's sleep is more pleasant than any of those days.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know.
But it's not average, because if you average, then one day could be better. He's saying compare each one. You won't find something better than the pleasant night's sleep, which doesn't make sense to me, but...
Okay, maybe I'll reread it. I saw it as average, and
well,
if you go back to minus 400 BC, which, you know, if you said that
yeah,
in
that's
their
Athens,
age...
they're rich.
Yeah, but
They're
if you
spoiled.
said that at their time, it would be like, well, who's C, right? But Yeah. I just wanted to say that. Okay. To fear death, yeah. Abandoning his pursuit out of fear of death would have been unwise. Right. So Socrates doesn't fear death, so he's obviously not going to stop pissing people off by questioning them. Anytus can't hurt Socrates because a worse man cannot harm a better one. That's another quote. A worse man cannot harm a better one. So again, he completely abandons the idea of physical harm being any actual harm.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a lot about the soul. It's a lot about the soul.
The harm would be him stopping to stop talking about philosophy, right?
And it's a beautiful confidence because just for example, the exiling example. In Socrates' mind, what would be the result of Anytus successfully exiling him? That man has now exiled a good, virtuous man from the city of Athens. He hurt his own soul, right?
Mm-hmm.
He knows his opponents are losing because he's following that inner voice, that kind of godlike inner path, right? And I feel like we've discussed this before, of course. In Buddhism, we do all have it. We do all know how to follow it in certain moments. What kind of confidence would you be walking around with if all the time you just followed that?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Socrates has, and it's plain. It's right there. That's exactly how he feels. How you imagine you would feel, that's how he feels. Because he says, you cannot possibly hurt me, right?
Yeah, he's the definition of dying on this hill for virtue.
Yeah. If he drank the arsenic on a hill,
we hope.
That's maybe where the metaphor comes from. Socrates has never charged for his services. If he had chosen the political life, he would be dead.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Another interesting quote: a man who truly fights for justice must lead a private life, not a public one, if he wants to survive even a little while. Yeah,
I feel like the way it makes sense to me is you go public, you have to be liked, and boom, you instantly lose. Like you're already compromised.
Okay.
You have to appeal to this group of people, but also this group of people, and try to blah, blah, blah. If you say what you truly believe, people only get a snippet of you, and a lot of people are going to hate you. And if you say the truth, like Socrates is, if he had gone public, he would have been dead a long time ago, probably. Right? Because he's, with his private life, he's affecting 1% at a time and getting more deeply to those people that actually do listen to him.
Yes, I think it is, as you say, about the scaling of his influence. But I think the way I saw it is, if you're pursuing truth and justice and virtue on that big of a scale, there is an equal and opposite force for every force, right? So if you are
in physics, not in people speaking.
Yes, in people speaking, because it's a law of the universe, not just of physics. And I think that if he were to pursue at the biggest scale virtue, what would oppose him is at the biggest scale evil. And guess what ruthless and biggest scale evil can do? Kill you. And that's literally what he says. If you are to pursue justice, really, you cannot lead a public life, because as soon as you try to scale up, well, your enemies are scaling up as well. And what they do is just kill you, kind of. And that's what happened. That's the way I saw it.
Yeah, but the biggest enemy of virtue is not death, because death doesn't matter. It was the biggest ally of virtue here.
Exactly, but he doesn't say... overall, yes. But he doesn't say necessarily enemy of virtue. He just says, you're going to die if you pursue truth publicly. But anyway, it rings true. It rings true for sure. If you've ever watched House of Cards.
Do you even remember what happens in that?
Politicians die. That's all I remember. And
is the main guy a good guy?
Oh, it's never as black and white as you make it out to be. I'm pretty sure no. No, he I think he kills the journalist in episode 10 or something, you know? So would not accept exile because his purpose is to pursue virtue and discuss it.
Yeah, but he also mentions that if he did get exiled and went to another city, he would just get kicked out of there. If the Athenians kicked him out, then everybody would kick him out.
Yeah. Again, logical. If I pissed you guys off enough to make you evict me, if I go to the next city, they're going to do the same thing. There's no reason not to. So then he says that judgment will come for those who condemned him as soon as he dies.
He says, "This is what I will prophesy."
Yeah. And I think again, it's a very deep awareness of that inner voice that to a lot of these Athenians that are just angry that, for example, there are these rich, high status people, politicians, and somebody just embarrassed them, right? Somebody took their pants off in front of the whole class, and they're holding this grudge. But then, as soon as Socrates drops dead, they're gonna feel that because revenge doesn't taste sweet, and he's not a dish served cold, right? And
but he also says, like, you're gonna realize I've been holding my students back from questioning you and everything.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is, like, Socrates dies, and then he has like minions. He has troops that are gonna go out, and it's gonna be like 1,000 Socrates just out there.
Exactly. You cut off the dragon's head, and a little
55 tails pop out.
like Jack in the Box. But
What?
That's the kind of
the fries.
the curly fries. The physical thing that's going to happen. But I think at some other points in the speech, or just a little bit earlier, he also says on the virtue side of things is what I was getting at, that the punishment for killing him is the killing him itself, right?
Yeah, of course.
Where once all is said and done, they are going to wake up one day and say, whoops, we've just killed the virtuous guy, right? The guy who brought us truth, the guy who opened our eyes. And he says essentially it'll happen as soon as you feel that I've died, right? Because I've died. Like he doesn't. Okay. Options for death: hell and lack of perception. We've gone through that. Wants the juryman to treat his sons like he treated them, of course. And a good man can be hurt neither in life nor in death. And I feel like say that proudly. You have to be there, right? Like I can recognize the wisdom in that sentence, but to feel that and being able to say it from my perspective, I feel like there's so much work to be done on me.
Yeah.
Just abandoning the temptations of the flesh, right? Which is, a Buddhist journey that takes 20 years or whatever. I'm just estimating, probably 5 for some, 50 for others, but just that, and being able to say, look, whatever, man, like, this torture thing, you're hurting your soul, right? And being able to say that with chest is just...
With chest.
Something else. Okay, well, yeah, that's me. Did we want to come back to some of the points about him being good? I guess
being good.
A good orator. I think one of the things I was a bit unfair to is the oracle story. I guess to those who don't know, do you want to say it a little bit? It's just like brush it over.
Yeah, I think initially it was his friend that went to speak to an oracle, who is someone who speaks for the gods, basically delivers the messages of gods, and asked him if there was any man wiser than Socrates in Athens. And the oracle answered, and so the gods answered, no, there is no one wiser than Socrates. And Socrates was deeply perplexed, and so he went on this research journey trying to find what the oracle meant. And so he went to people that were wiser than him, supposedly, because they were the wisest. And he went from person to person. And as we were saying before, he went to politicians, poets and craftsmen, and all of them he found were not wise at all. And so his conclusion in the end was that, oh yeah, okay, I'm the wisest, but the only way I see myself being the wisest is the only difference, the only thing that sets me apart from those people that are supposed to be wise is because we're all ignorant, but I know that I'm ignorant. And that's why I'm judged to be wise by the gods, is because I know I'm ignorant, while all the other people are ignorant but are unaware of it.
And it's so cool how, I got this tattoo of literally this quote. I know that I know nothing at 17. And because I don't know, Socrates just appealed to me and this quote appealed to me. But now I'm discovering that in his final days, on his final trial, essentially the reason that he died, at least according to him, is due to this pursuit of just finding this out. See? He was out there. First of all, he thought, oh, maybe the oracle isn't right. Maybe perhaps it makes mistakes sometimes. Because all of these people seem to know more than me. At least they claim so. Let me investigate. And then he cracks the code and it's like, right, I am the smartest man because I know that I'm ignorant. So it's just cool. It's like the culmination of his 70 years of work. And I just, it just clicked. Now, the craftsman part was just an interesting little psychological thing, right? We brushed over the first two. When he went to the craftsman, he did find that they had a lot of specific knowledge in their craft, which was okay. But then they misinterpreted that skill and extended it to other areas and were overconfident in them because of that overconfidence in that one skill. And do you remember in social psych where one of the reasons actors, for example, have a lot of political influence is because one of the cognitive biases is the overextending of a specific skill to
Not
others.
Not specifically, but that does sound like a very social psych thing. Yeah,
thing to learn. Yeah, but this was a kind of on a personal level where people were in the. It's like.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
Conor McGregor acting. Yeah.
When someone has a lot of power in an area, it's hard. It's. I guess they have the presentation, the confidence in one area of their life, and so they know what it's like to be the boss, right? To be the best at what they are, and they very well might be, right, the best at what they are. But then I guess they know and they do replicate that in other areas of life, and they sound very confident. And I mean, sounding confident and believing you're the best is half of the job, right?
Indeed.
And convincing people.
Yeah, if we're talking about the narrative,
if we're not talking about
yourself.
Truth and virtue.
Yeah. Socrates wouldn't be
Which,
happy.
why aren't we?
Exactly. But yeah, I think if they navigate the world through this frame that they've learned themselves because they are the best, right? Everyone comes to them for shoemaking. People consult them. They have students over whom they have authority. And suddenly you put him on a stand for expressing his political views, and he thinks he deserves the same attention in politics, right? Oh, why aren't people listening to me like I have 20 years of experience in something? Well, because you're a shoemaker, right?
You have a platform. It's your responsibility.
Exactly. So that's the apology.
And thank you for listening to our platform.
Yeah. And our overextension of skills and craftsmanship. So, maybe, yeah. Season 3 has to see a remodeling of the set.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah. We can do a bunch of
imagine we do around the world.
Oh, I see. Like Seasons. This is Morocco set, season 1 and 2. Yeah. Let's do all the places we haven't been and do stereotypes only.
Tune in next time where we might get canceled.
Angola. Oh, yeah. I guess this is it, eh?
Guess it is. So, when will we see you? When will you hear us? We don't know. but will it be amazing?
Yeah.
It will.
Yeah, we'll come back with a bang. The website will see a remake. I'm probably gonna get run Google ads because I googled when I was at work. I needed inspiration for my last
I
blog.
think that works very well.
Yeah. Well, if it's set up well, there are limits to it.
Yeah, for the study I'm doing, we're recruiting pregnant women,
Yeah.
and we posted flyers outside and
Yeah,
everything, and we got nothing. And then she ran a Facebook ad for a week, and we got like 40 pregnant women that were ready to participate in a research.
Yeah. The only thing is, you guys are offering money.
Yeah, we are.
And that is a marketing strategy in the sense that you're offering free value. But I think
Our next 5 listeners will get a loony.
no, but that would be amazing. But that's way over budget. But I do think I thought of this free value, and I think now you've equipped me with this idea that to replace the void in my heart for this podcast, I might work on my book, which I might release as an ebook, and make that the free value offer, for example, for signing up to our newsletter. And the newsletter will contain every blog that I will be releasing every week. And the blog will be referring to every podcast.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good funnel. But I think that the book should be something relating to kind of a younger audience, because I talk about Among Us and we're young, right? And for that I thought to do something like the guide for overthinkers, because that's classic.
Are you talking about a new book? Another book?
Yeah, not my main book.
Okay.
Just a side book, because I can't do my 300 essay on human virtue
For
300 page essay
for
on,
everyone public.
Yeah, it's like if that's ever going to be released, that's going to be my life's work. But if I can do an 80-page rambling kind of amalgamation of potential blogs and put some cool AI pictures in it, like that's going to be it. So yeah,
Just
we have
fill it with as much dopamine as you can.
Exactly. Yeah. Video capsules of just me talking.
Like they scroll, and it's programmed so that when you scroll to some point, like a TikTok video shows up.
Oh, fully edited TikTok.
That's
We might be onto
actually
something. We might be onto
I
something.
feel like
because
reading has to be updated.
if they read like a page and a half and are rewarded by a TikTok with the animations that I do from editing, that would be amazing.
Built-in Pomodoro technique.
So good. No, that's actually so good though.
It's
What?
like
Because if you structure the exact flow of your book in an optimal way to never get them distracted
lose
from
them,
the book.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. That might be the future though. Okay, I'm going to be re-listening to the last 10 minutes of the podcast for inspiration when we do this.
And this is gonna be public, so we'll have called it when that happens.
Actually, do we
release it?
Figure out the logistics behind filing for patents and get that settled. Can we hire a
Steve?
secretary?
Yeah.
Secretary. What's our budget here? And but essentially, I think that
5 loonies.
really good marketers get around 5%, like 4 or 5% return on their click-through rate. Yeah, that's really good.
Click-through rate?
Yeah, click-through rate. So the number of people that saw the impression on their scrolling and actually clicked on it to go on the website.
That sounds right, yeah.
So again, even if we both chip in with $100 for Google ads, what I wanted to say is I wanted inspiration for the last blog, which I don't yet have inspiration for. And I Googled philosophy blogs. And it's all Stanford Encyclopedia, and they're at wit's end. It's like they're talking about like Nietzsche's potential perspective on Hitler or something like that. It's like whatever, So
Well, okay.
I think I genuinely think my blog could be something refreshing for people who like to think but don't want to hear Heidegger's thoughts on
it's definitely a
personhood. It's like
it's definitely a people person's blog philosophy.
and I think it is perhaps a hole that is in the philosophy industry right now.
Yeah, but it's not like
I've tried to look into it. I think a lot of people.
yeah, no, but I was gonna say it's not like in the last, I don't know, 5 months we've tried marketing, tried expanding.
No, exactly, 100%. When I was focused most on marketing was when I knew the least about it.
Yeah,
I made
but,
the default website.
but low key, that's good. I mean, it would also have been good if we continued, I guess, and developed with it. But as we said this, having a bank of things we created already is good.
It's good. I don't know how good breaks are, but it's also not going to be a break. That's the thing. Like, I'm going to be thinking about the podcast, and now that I've said this, because I had the idea of the funnel that I told you about for, I think, 4 or 5 months now, but I hadn't been able to do it because I'm investing 4 to 5 hours in the podcast now per week, and that could partially go to that book. And just bit by bit, in the next 6 months, I could have a masterpiece of 80 pages written, the ebook done, the site revamped, and we're back.
With 4 to 5 hours per week. Good, get it.
Well, less. I said part of that. Because the point of stopping this is to start something else. Yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot for following us in this journey. This is, I'd say, far from over, just because it's been one of those things where it doesn't feel like one of our momentary hypes of, oh, you remember when you wanted to learn tennis? It didn't feel like that.
A while ago.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like a burst of motivation. We've been through ups, we've been through downs, we've been through tight calls.
Yeah, I think we don't argue, but I guess we don't work together often. But this is the most we've argued in our lives,
Which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, conflict management and whatnot. And yeah, we did settle on exactly what we wanted from this. Because now that we're past the shorts, I just don't feel like it was me. When I was successful at them, it felt like it was cool, but
yeah, you seem, though, well, it's part of you, but you seem to take those sort of things as mistakes sometimes. Where you're just like, oh yeah, like that wasn't me. But to discover that wasn't you had to do it. And to discover that hype of tennis is not me, I had to do whatever I had to do. It's what happens. Just life happens. You try things, you don't stick with some of them. And if you don't,
yeah, I know it touched you less, but when we hit the 100, the million views on Instagram.
Oh, I mean, that was hype.
And we put in, a few hours into a 40-second clip. That was really cool. But what did it feel like me? And then again, what am I but the things I do? Like now I feel like this podcast is me, but although we did feel a calling for this podcast, like way before we started it, we felt the calling.
Like a year when we recorded that thing
Episode
that's
0.
never gonna. No, what were
Episode
we?
0. Imagine we were too attached to the podcast. We want an episode for next week, but we realize it the day before, and I'm like, we gotta release it. And we release episode 0.
No chance.
Hey guys,
But I mean, it wasn't the same podcast name. It wasn't we didn't say our names.
this is Tab, and I'm Axel.
It wasn't like Axel and Moldy.
Yeah, it was Axel and Moldy. Yeah. Anyway,
Well, you don't get that. That's our inside joke.
exactly. Although I'm sure you can decipher what we mean by it. Anyway, I think I've stalled long enough. Good things coming. Thanks for following through. I think the feedback helped a lot. I think one of the main things that I still haven't learned. I still think while Alex talks, but one of the main things the feedback has said to me is to actually listen when my interlocutor talks. And I think this is a life skill that's gonna follow me through everywhere. And I think I'm not very good at it yet. I'm gonna do my best. And quite honestly, if my own thoughts were perfectly organized and I did my due diligence and my notes were good and concise, I wouldn't have to, in a panic, try to organize the next thing I say before you finish talking, and I could actually listen to you. So I think it's partly preparation.
Like I do feel it. I feel it when you listen to me because you actually say like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. Like you wouldn't say that if you didn't listen.
Because I try more, but I consciously try more. I do.
And yeah, I think what a structure and a plan does in good notes is it allows you to, you lead it, you go through to this point. I have something to say about it. You're not stressed about what's coming next. And if we go off on a tangent, you can just go back to your notes.
Boy, do I welcome those.
You can just go back to your notes right after the tangent and say, oh, where were we? Yes, there.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it would help more on paper and then crossing them out, something physical. Anyway, I am speculating here, but the same person who said the thing about tell them what you're going to tell them, then blah, blah, blah. He said that a lot of people wait for their turn to talk. And that can't be more true nowadays. It genuinely can't. So often when people say something, you tell yourself, did that person hear what I said, or were they just... Anyway, that's back to episode 1, Chris. So thanks for listening. Wow, I'm not gonna end on "we'll see you next week." Thanks a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for listening. Go to thinkinbros.com for
more information.
I guess nothing now. Why would they? No, but do read my blog. The next blog that's coming out. Contact us at thinkingbros@gmail.com to sponsor our podcast, because we're gonna come back if like even small companies like, I don't know, Oreos collaborate with us.
For example,
or Absolute Vodka. Nothing personal. And we will see you in season 3 when Alex will have more grit and I more hair.
See ya.
See ya.